Russia, April 6, 2026. Another massive attack by Ukrainian drones. The defenses become saturated and go into panic. An irreparable military loss has occurred. Novorossiysk is on fire. Again, the largest oil terminal in Russia on the Black Sea. The terminal that handles billions of dollars every month caught fire for the fourth time in less than 6 months. 2 piers destroyed, pipelines ruptured, control valves blown. A fire so big that NASA satellites detected it from space. And, while the terminal burns, the last Russian frigate capable of launching caliber missiles in the Black Sea is also burning, hit by drones it tried and failed to shoot down. But what's happening in Novorossiysk isn't just another attack. When you look at the past few months, you realize that Ukraine isn't trying to destroy this port. It's doing something that Russia simply can't stop. On the night of April 5th to 6th, Ukraine launched about 50 drones against Novorossiysk. That's a huge number for a single target, and Novorossiysk wasn't the only place attacked that night. In total, the Russian air defense said it intercepted 148 drones in various regions of the country in just 3 hours. Sounds efficient, but it wasn't enough. The drones that got through hit exactly where they needed to hit. The Sheskharis terminal was hit directly, and it's worth stopping here to understand why this terminal matters so much. Sheskharis is the endpoint of the entire southern Russian oil pipeline network. Oil from the Urals, Siberia, and Kazakhstan. It all passes through there before being loaded onto tankers. Under normal conditions, Sheskharis processes about 700,000 barrels of oil per day. That represents about 20% of everything Russia exports by sea. And that night, Ukrainian drones hit the 2 main loading piers. The pipelines that connect the terminal to the ships and the systems that control the measurement and distribution of the oil. In other words, it's no use having oil if you have no way to put it on a ship. That's exactly what Ukraine destroyed. The loading of oil at Sheskharis was completely suspended. But the terminal wasn't the only target. In the same operation, Ukrainian drones hit the frigate Admiral Makarov, a Russian warship that was anchored at the Novorossiysk naval base. That frigate is, or was, one of the most important ships that Russia still had in the Black Sea. The Makarov carries caliber missiles, long-range missiles that Russia uses to hit Ukrainian cities, and infrastructure up to 2,500 kilometers away. These are missiles that fly close to the ground, are extremely difficult to intercept, and carry almost half a ton of explosives. To give you an idea of what these missiles can do, just in March 2026, Russia launched 138 missiles against Ukraine. They hit residential buildings, power grids, hospitals. More than 300,000 homes were left without power in the Chernihiv region after a single attack. Each caliber that is launched from a ship like the Makarov can devastate an entire building. So, when Ukraine takes one of these frigates out of combat, it's not just a military victory, it's one less launcher aimed at cities full of civilians, and that's exactly what they did. Satellite images confirmed 2 direct hits on the Makarov. The first one hit the area where the Caliber missile launchers are located. The second one hit the bow, the front part of the ship. The video of the attack, published by the commander of Ukraine's drone forces, shows the exact moment when the frigate fires its own defense missiles at the approaching drones. The missiles go up and miss, the drones keep going and hit. The air defense of one of Russia's most advanced warships in the Black Sea failed at the only task it was supposed to accomplish. Still in the same operation, Ukraine attacked the Syvash oil platform in the Black Sea. Russia had turned that platform into a base for air defense radars. And the way Ukraine attacked is impressive. Maritime drones sailed to the platform acting as real motherships. Autonomous boats that carry smaller drones over long distances and then launch them when they get close to the target. The smaller drones then attack the radars. It's the kind of tactic that seems like science fiction, but it's happening now, in real combat. And think about what this means in practice. Without those radars, Russia loses the eyes of its air defense network in that region. And without air defense, the way is open for the next attack. Ukraine is not just destroying, it's preparing the ground to destroy even more. And here is where things get really interesting, because none of this is new. Ukraine has done all of this before. The same terminal, the same ships, the same city. And that's exactly where this story changes from an isolated attack to something much bigger. Let's go back a bit. Why? When you put the events side by side, the strategy becomes obvious. In November 2025, Ukraine attacked Sheskharis for the first time with full force. It damaged the terminal, paralyzed operations, and caused huge fires. Russia spent weeks repairing it. They invested millions in repairs. They restored the loading capacity. Did it work? It worked for a while. In March of 2026, Ukraine returned. They attacked again. This time, they destroyed 6 of the terminal's 7 loading arms, the equipment that transfers oil into the tankers. Without them, the port simply doesn't work. The entire port stopped. And in that same attack, drones hit the frigate Admiral Essen, another of the few frigates with Kaliber missiles in the Black Sea. The damage to the Essen was so severe that, according to Ukrainian sources, the ship lost its ability to launch its Kaliber missiles. According to these sources, a fire on board lasted 18 hours. Russia repaired Sheskharis again. The repairs took more weeks and millions more. And in April, Ukraine returned again. Same target, same destruction. This time, it also attacked the Makarov, the last frigate with Kaliber missiles that remained. Now, stop and think for a second. November. Attack, destruction, repair. March. Attack, destruction, repair. April. Attack, destruction. 3 times the same target. You've already noticed what Ukraine is doing here, right? This isn't a series of isolated attacks. It's a strategy. Russia fixes it. Ukraine destroys it. Russia fixes it again. Ukraine destroys it again. 4 times in less than 6 months. And each time it gets worse because Ukraine is learning from every attack. Ukraine knows where the weak points are. It knows which defenses Russia is repositioning. It knows which air routes are open for new attacks. Each attack fuels the next one. But the problem is even worse than it seems, because Russia can't just abandon Novorossiysk and go somewhere else. And this is where we see the magnitude of the strategic mistake Russia made. When Ukraine started destroying ships and infrastructure in Crimea, Russia made a decision. It transferred what was left of the Black Sea fleet to Novorossiysk. It bet everything on a single port. The logic seemed to make sense. Novorossiysk is located in Russian territory, farther from the front line, theoretically easier to defend. It was Plan B, and now Plan B is burning for the 4th time. The Black Sea fleet is trapped, literally trapped. Since 2022, Turkey has closed the Bosphorus Strait, the only passage that connects the Black Sea to the rest of the world for warships. It did this based on an international treaty called the Montreux Convention, which gives Turkey the right to block this passage in times of war. In practice, this means that no military ship enters or leaves the Black Sea. The 3rd frigate of the same class, Admiral Grigorovich, has been stuck in the Mediterranean since 2021. It was photographed in Algeria in 2025, unable to return. So, Russia has exactly 0 frigates with Kaliber available to replace the ones Ukraine is destroying. 0. And the fleet was already in shambles before these latest attacks. Russia lost the Moskva, the largest and most important ship in the fleet, known as the flagship, in April 2022, sunk by Ukrainian missiles. And it took Russia almost 4 years to officially admit that it was sunk by Ukraine. The Makarov took over as the flagship after that. Now it is also damaged. In total, about half of the ships in the Black Sea Fleet have been destroyed or damaged since the beginning of the war. And the most ironic thing is that this was done by a country that doesn't have a navy. The remaining ships can't go out to open sea because they become targets. They can't hide in Novorossiysk because Ukraine attacks the port every month. And they can't receive reinforcements because the Bosphorus is closed. It's a trap with no way out. And if that already sounds bad for Russia, hold on, because it gets worse. Because what's happening in the Black Sea is only half the story. Ukraine is doing the same thing in the Baltic ports. Ust Luga and Primorsk, which together account for 40% of Russia's oil export capacity, were also repeatedly attacked in March and April. The smoke from the fires in Ust Luga was visible in Finland. Russian oil exports fell from over 4 million barrels per day to 2,300,000 in a single week. The biggest disruption in oil supply in modern Russian history. The financial agency Bloomberg calculated that Russia lost about $1 billion in revenue in a single week because of these attacks. Now, consider that Russia has set aside the equivalent of $157 billion for defense in 2026. Every week that its ports are shut down is money that should be funding this war machine and simply doesn't come in. And in the midst of all this, Russia still tried to turn the situation to its advantage, accusing Ukraine of having attacked a neighboring terminal, which is partially owned by Chevron and ExxonMobil, trying to create a crisis between Ukraine and the United States. But satellite images proved that the target was the Russian terminal, not the American one. Meanwhile, Zelensky proposed a mutual energy truce on the same day as the attack. If Russia stops attacking Ukraine's energy, Ukraine will stop attacking Russia's. Do you know their response? None. Total silence. And here we get to the central point of this story. If you started this video thinking there would be another Ukrainian attack against Russia, I hope that by now it's clear that what's happening is much bigger than that. It's not about a terminal on fire, it's about an entire system that doesn't work anymore. Look, Ukraine planned to manufacture more than 7 million drones in 2026. 7 million, almost 50% more than the 5 million produced in 2025. The truth is that drones are getting cheaper, have longer range, and are getting smarter. With each passing month, Ukraine manages to launch bigger attacks against more distant targets, and Russia can't replace what it loses. It can't repair faster than Ukraine destroys. It can't move ships to replace the damaged ones. It can't protect its ports. Russia will repair Novorossiysk again. That's a fact. They're probably already repairing it now. It'll take weeks, it'll cost millions, and in a month, maybe less, Novorossiysk will probably be on fire again, because Russia's problem isn't this attack. It's not the previous one, and it won't be the next one. The problem is that the attacks don't stop, and Russia has no answer for that. And I want to know your opinion. In your view, does Russia still have any way to protect its ports, or is this a war that it simply cannot win? Leave it in the comments. If this video helped you understand what's going on, share it with someone who is following this conflict. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next ones. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.